Hello, and welcome to the 5-Minute IEP. Today's topic is how to read standard scores. So, what is a standard score? On standardized assessments, you tend to get a result that's a standard score, a number between 0 and 150. Although, in reality, we usually see scores between 50 and 140. So, what does it mean? Well, most people are familiar with 100 means perfectly average. But where do we get that number from? How do we read it? How do we understand it? So really there's two concepts that you need to understand first. The normal curve and standard deviation. So first, the normal curve. Math and statistics, after research, have a law, essentially, that says that if you have more than 50 things, they tend to follow a normal curved shape. That's a bell curve. Now, it can be highly peaked, it can be kind of low and slow, spread out, but the shape concept is exactly the same. And everything tends to follow it. Think about shoe size. People with really small shoes, there's only a few of them. People with really huge shoes, there's only a few of them. Most people have very normal, regular sized shoes. So if you lined everybody up, you'd see only a few with small shoes, many with normal sized shoes, and only a few with very large shoes. And that's common to height, shoe size, salaries, IQ, speech skills, academic skills. All of that tends to follow that bell curve shape. Now, of course, nothing in life perfectly fits, of course, but roughly it follows that shape. That's the normal curve. So, second concept, standard deviation. So, what is that? In the middle, you have perfect, the most normal, average person right there in the middle. But my question is everybody else close to that? Barely spread out, or are they very spread out? That's where standard deviation helps us. It teaches us how far away someone is from the average. If there's a little bit of variation, it'll be a small standard deviation. If everyone is varied, extremely varied, it's going to be a very big standard deviation, very spread out. So it tells me how close everything is to normal. It gives me a size, a measurement. So if we add the standard deviation to the average or subtract the standard deviation to the average, that range that it gives us is called average, normal. Everything between 1, adding and subtracting 1 standard deviation, plus 1 minus 1, that's normal, that's average, and everything's fine. If we add and subtract the standard deviation again, spread out another 1, those are kind of borderline areas, things that we need to watch and see what's up, but we're okay. If we add and subtract yet again and move out a third time, that's where something different, something interesting is happening. If we add 3 standard deviations, often you'll hear the classification of gifted being used there. The student needs a different kind of supports at that level. If we subtract 3 times, we usually use the term special needs, or that there's something that needs to be addressed, something missing that we need to address in that skill. That's where an IEP becomes involved. For a standard score, we've decided to use a nice normal number, and right in the middle is 100. Our standard deviation is 15. Means from 85 to 115, that's considered completely normal and average. If we move out, that's normal, that's okay. But if we're below 70 or above 130, that's where we need to address and do something. Below 70 could mean we need related services to address that skill. We need something special math goals or English goals. Maybe the student needs the alternate assessment because of their IQ below 70. Now, it doesn't mean that there's a problem with the kid. No, it just means there's something that we need to address. And above 130, there's a potential for gifted, which means we need to support learning in a different way. So, here's what standard deviation looks like. So, again with standard scores, completely average, the mean is 100. 85 to 115, that's considered normal. Standard deviation of 15 in each direction. If we go below 70 or above 130, means we need to do something different for that student. Most standardized assessments use that standard score, but not all. The next slide is going to show you there are different scores. One that's very popular is called the T score. Instead of the middle being 100, the middle is 50. And the standard deviation is a little bit different. So you'll see some common ones on this next slide. All right, that's the 5-minute IEP for today, understanding standard scores. If you still feel you're not quite sure, a good person to ask about this is the school psychologist. They tend to be involved with that kind of standard score concept again and again. So that's the 5-minute IEP for today. Have a great day.